Sneakers, that time of year. And it's something I'm very passionate about. I'm on the national board with Coaches versus Cancer, and excited to be wearing this year's attire to bring a little recognition to something that we need to solve a problem and put an end to. So, everybody's had somebody that's been affected by cancer, and obviously, one of the heads in our industry, Dick Vitale, from a media standpoint, is dealing with it now. And, our thoughts and prayers are with Dick. And he's meant so much to the game of basketball, but also an opportunity for us to just with our platform, recognize it. So we'll be wearing some stuff tomorrow night in recognition of that event. So. Coming off the Maryland game, very out of character. A lot of reasons, a lot of things involved in that that I won't necessarily get into. But it's probably as poor defensively from an energy standpoint as we've played in some time. They took the fight to us. That doesn't happen very often. Tomorrow night, we've got to bring the fight, as they did to us last year. But I give Maryland a lot of credit. They made plays. We were plenty good enough offensively until the last 6 minutes. And last 6 minutes, we just completely fell out of character to everything we were doing. And we've addressed those things in practice. Michigan State comes to town, basically the same team they were a year ago. They've added a couple of pieces at the point guard spot, and obviously Max Christie is having an outstanding freshman campaign. But the Binghams, the Browns, Malik Halls, Hoggard, those guys are Hauser. Those are the same cast of characters in a game that last year was. They whooped us, and so it's. I wouldn't expect it to be any different. Michigan State, Illinois. I think Tom and I do things a lot alike philosophically, and we've got to get back to some semblance of after the Maryland game. I loved our team after the Purdue game. Excuse me. I thought we fought. And we fought through some adversity in that game, but I sure didn't like us from a mental approach the other night against Maryland, and we got to bounce back from
that. Brad, were you surprised by the way your defense let you down at Maryland, or the individuals involved?
All the above. We're number one in the country in we've seen the most ball screens of any team in the country. We are 8th in ball screen defense, and we have been very much a gap team. I think it's one of the things that we do well. And Trent didn't practice for 3 days prior to the Maryland game. He took a horrendous fall in practice the day before the Purdue game, so he was out, didn't practice, and we missed Trent. Probably as poor a defensive game as Trent's played in a long time. But again, it was uncharacteristic. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. We addressed it in film, and we're great yesterday. So just kind of was the deals. I think Rob was just out of character.
Any change in Kofi's status heading into tomorrow?
It's everything we do in our medical procedures. I don't have any control over, and so he's going through that. And we'll see here at 2:30 whether he's where he's at in that process, and go from there.
I guess I think concussions are just things that happen and you don't have any control over it. Have you, with a couple this year, talk about how you maybe look for them, or change in maybe how you approach that, just as,
I have no say in it. I have zero control. I don't even ask. I don't talk to our medical professionals. I don't talk to anybody. We have a procedural process in place within our department. We have to follow that to the guideline. I don't ask. You guys know me better than that. I don't say anything about medical issues, and I don't talk to them. I coach the guys who can show up, and when they tell me they can play, they can play. I'm far from an expert, you know. Bello hits his head on the floor in an exhibition game. I mean, okay, I saw that. But you know, once it gets beyond that, I wring my hands. I'm done. I can't control anything that happens, and it's completely based on the outside. It's on the medical experts. So no juice there.
Jake Grandison's been pretty consistent here over the last few games, shooting the ball. Is it a situation with him where he's just more of a catch and shoot guy, not a guy who's going to hunt his shot as much as other people? Or what have you maybe seen out of him shooting the last few games?
Yeah, and Jake's a repetition guy, you know, and Jake was, missed some time. You know, we obviously had the 8 or 9, 10 day shutdown, whatever it was, and we couldn't do anything. We couldn't get guys in the gym. We couldn't shoot. We couldn't do anything with him. And Jake is very much about his pattern, his routine. He shoots 1 million balls, and kind of went through a struggle, and now has found that rhythm back. He's really shooting the cover off of it. He's not a guy that's what I would consider a plumber pure. You know, he's got to get his reps up. But man, he's playing great, and he was back active on the glass. Again, he's back talking, and just his routine helps him immensely.
Brad, we've seen it with Ben. In your experience, what's the biggest key for a guy that doesn't get a whole lot of minutes in November, December, maybe January, to be ready for his moment, say in late February, when you need it?
Character. Ben, no one spends more time in the gym than Ben. Ben is an elite worker. He's a perfectionist. Ben's a 4.0 student. He takes that approach to his basketball. He's got tremendous amount of character in terms of wanting to succeed. And then, you know, every single day, I mean, he challenges everybody every day with his effort. I thought we would get more from Ben. I told him that in film. I 1 rebound. I mean, he does that, you know, in his sleep. But I think it just goes along with what everybody else was dealing with. But he's been rock solid. He's earned it. He doesn't make mistakes, and you know, he'll be a big part of what we do moving forward.
Brad, how much did Kofi's absence against Maryland reveal his value on defense for you?
Well, I'm not going to judge anything on Maryland. You know, I mean, we stunk. You know, that's not taking anything away from them. I mean, we were just flat emotionally. We didn't punch anybody. We thought we were going to outscore them. Again, we were without Trent for 3 days leading up. First thing Trent did was shoot around the day of the game. He's our lifeblood. He's our energy. He's our guy in practice. But yeah, I mean, Kofi's impactful on both ends, and you know, there's a reason we play the way we play, and you know, when you don't have that, we're not going to reinvent the wheel in one game. You know, we're not going to change what we do. That just doesn't work. That's not fair to everybody else because one guy's gone, we just go scrap what we do and change it. No, and again, they didn't hurt us with ball screens. They hurt us because we were not in our gaps, and we weren't just literally active. And so I'm not gonna make a big deal about that.
Brad, understanding not wanting to change everything you do without one guy, how do these extra days, should Kofi not be able to go tomorrow, help you maybe adjust to his absence more than 3 or 4 days or whatever before you went to Maryland?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're doing the same things. We're not changing. We're doing the same things. We scheme for every opponent. And try not, again, it's one game, it's 2 games, it's 10 games. So, you know, we had to make some changes early when Bello was out. We knew he was gonna be out a while. But you know, at this point in time, we're just status quo. We're doing what we do. We just gotta do it better. And we gotta do it harder, and we gotta fight. And we had no fight. And over my dead body, that's gonna happen again. We're gonna fight.
Yeah, I know you kind of talked about the fight and kind of offensively over those last couple of minutes, I guess, after watching the film and that kind of time, what did you guys kind of want to change and what do you guys kind of want to adjust?
A little composure. I mean, I mean, Plummer took 3 of the worst shots and jumped in the air, and we didn't run anything. Trent took a step back 3, down 3, and, you know, we didn't have anybody back, and I get it. You know, but it's a 2-possession game with 4 minutes to go, and you're down on the road, you've got the ball, and we just disintegrated. And, you know, yeah, we want those guys shooting shots, but we need to do it out of the execution of what we're trying to do, and we just didn't do that very well.
I know last year you had Io coming off a concussion and he pushed the play in that Michigan game, ultimately didn't get cleared. Is there a number of days as a minimum that they have to be in protocol?
No, there's a process in the protocol, and I don't even know, you'd think after all the concussion crap we've dealt with in this program, you'd think I'd know that it's not a day thing. It is completely a symptom thing. It's like I said with Bello through his deal. It's based on reactions to the previous day or the previous amount of exertion that they put forth. So what that reaction is, again, is I have no say over. So I don't even ask. I haven't talked to anybody about any of those situations. Going back to Io, I just don't do medical.
I know you looked at Maryland as an outlier defensively. How do you see big picture where you guys are at there? I think you're 34th in DER. What's the difference between maybe getting back to the top 10 where you guys were last year?
You know, I'm not as worried about where we were at last year. I'm more worried about the trend. You know, we were trending up. We've been really, really good. We got to have Trent elite. We got to have DeMonte elite. You know, I think that you know, Coleman gives us a big punch on that end. I think we've seen the fight in Luke. And then, you know, I thought even in the Purdue game, Omar and Ben, you know, our numbers, our analytics go up, have been going up with those guys in the game over Kofi. And that's what I'm disappointed in, is damn, we've been better with those guys in the game. And on that end of the court. And that sure wasn't the case against Maryland. Again, everything's in emotion, effort, attention to detail, and you know, I think the other challenge is, again, you know, we've got to continue to guard the ball and fight and compete, and we'll get back to doing those things.
Brad, it seems like we hear you talk about the fight in November and December, but usually on January 24th, we don't hear as much out of your teams. And is there a reason you think it just kind of popped back up in this stretch here?
Well, I think I've talked about it every year. I think, what were we, 9-6 last year this time? And just coming off the Ohio State loss at home. And it's perspective. And I think they're 9-5, I don't know what we were. And we lost 2 in a row at home. And, you know, I think it's a long season. I think we have to understand that. I think that keeping everything in the right perspective and not just flying off the wheel at every thing that goes wrong. That's for you guys to write about and talk about and sell subscriptions to and all that. I'm not doing that. We're going to stay true to who we are and what we've been really, really good at for a long time. And we'll get there. 20 games, a lot of games in league play, and we're seeing that. You know, we're seeing that throughout. You know, it's one game up, next game get beat, and throughout this league, You know, if you would have, you look at Minnesota Rutgers the other day, and on both those teams, I mean, really, -3 starters, Minnesota, and win? Kudos to them. It's a hard league, and it's a grind, so we're not gonna change, just, we'll be fine.
Oh, on this concussion thing, what's basically you're telling me, is the way I'm getting this, is that Kofi could show up for practice today, have a good practice, but the decision on whether he'd play tomorrow wouldn't come until he was tested the next day. Is that correct?
Potentially. It's again, it's all the process. It's based on what his symptoms are, what he's able to do that next day then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a continuation process until he's absolutely clear, so.
The other thing is, how do you prepare for a team in which they just scored 86 points and 43 of them were from the bench?
They got depth, they got veterans, they got 9 guys. You don't, you know, you guard each guy independently. You know, I think the one thing about Tom's teams is, you know, they're really good at what they do. And, you know, they make adjustments accordingly, you know. They're going to run, they're going to try to get easy baskets. They run with great pace. And, you know, you've got to take that aspect away. And, you know, they were good. They were coming off a bye. They'd just maybe been beat at home by Northwestern, and coming off a bye, facing Tom Izzo. Sorry, Wisconsin, you know, I mean, it's just the reality. I mean, it was Purdue facing us off a bye. You know, you're gonna play your best, you're gonna be on point, you're gonna be that extra days to prepare, but they're good. And, you know, their freshman point guard is playing great, he's shooting the cover off of it, and they're getting a lot of productivity from Malik Hall, who's been off the bench. And, you know, they're not a team that just dazzles you with individual talent in terms of ball skills, but they're 3rd or 4th in the country in assisted baskets. So they run their stuff. And again, that's why when we're really good, we're assisted. So it's, you know, they are who they are, and we've got to take them for their actions more than their personnel.
With the situation that Curbelo went through, obviously Kofi and him are different. I imagine their situations are slightly different. But does that lead you and the medical staff to potentially handling this differently so that kind of thing doesn't happen again?
I have no idea where you're going with that. I have no say in anything that happens from that capacity. So whether they're a tennis player, whether they're a golfer, whether they're a football player, everything gets handled within those procedures. So, you know, everybody's got a different makeup, everybody's got a different body, how somebody reacts to it, whether some people have had multiple concussions. It doesn't, you know, like I said, it's just one of those things that those people handle. They're the experts, they're the professionals, and will abide by those things. I don't think there's anything to drastically readjust.
Brad, it's been my experience over the last few years, you've had a dude named Ivan Bassoon who not only has been your All-American, but could galvanize the locker room and say, look, that's not gonna happen again, not on my watch, kind of a deal. With Trent and DeMonte and other guys in your locker room, do you feel like you have that?
Yeah.
Where you don't have to hold the cattle prod all the time?
Yeah, we definitely have that. Yeah, we went through this. We went through the Maryland game last year against them here, and against Ohio State, and we went through that. And you know, it's that locker room is rock solid, man. Everybody was in the office on an off day, watching film or working, or getting an extra lift the day after that game. That's our culture, and that's who this thing's about. And you know, they understand winning is really, really hard, and there's speed bumps along the way. And I don't care if you're the Chicago Bulls who are going through it, or you're the Fighting Illini who had speed bumps. And Michigan State ain't gonna feel sorry for us. Maryland ain't gonna feel sorry for us. Northwestern ain't gonna feel sorry for us. Anybody you wanna name in this league, nobody's gonna give 2 rips our character and our behavior always went out. And that group showed up the next day.
You mentioned, basically kind of the same group for Michigan State, but how much is Tyson Walker just maybe being steady at the point, trying to change things for them?
He's given him great speed. He's similar to Fats Russell from Maryland, in that his speed has played well, and he's a veteran, and he's a guy that's been through some battles, and he makes open shots. He doesn't do anything crazy. Now, Michigan State has turned the ball over a lot. I think that's probably been their biggest snafu, is their turnover rate. But again, he's played better. Hoggard's become a sophomore. He's elite. He's a great prober in transition. He keeps going until he gets stopped with that size. But Walker's been a big piece for them.
I know you mentioned Andre wasn't feeling great in Maryland. How is he now, and what have your observations been of him 2 games back?
We need him in practice to and when you're not feeling well and you've got a fever before the game, and you just, my heart bleeds, because I want him to be, in that competitive mode. He's truly probably only had, he's only had the Purdue game where he's been somewhat himself. And so, yeah, practice helps him, and he'll be fine.
Has he been able to practice since you guys got back from Maryland?
He did not practice yesterday. He's still got the flu.
Are suits going to make a comeback, or is this going to be a one-off tomorrow night?
Who said suits? It's called Suits and Sneakers, but we'll see.
So it might just be sneakers.
Sneakers and my birthday suit, oh boy. Yeah, that'd send them all running for the exits, wouldn't it?
Anything else?
Actually, I got
We'll handle that.
Patrick Schulte would like to know if you turned the TV off when the Bills scored with 13 seconds left.
Absolutely not. Is it not that, I should have started with that. I was being serious with Coaches versus Cancer. Good gracious, was that maybe the greatest football game ever played? And I'm not just saying it because I'm a Chiefs fan, but, and then how can you not love Andy's comment? When things look grim, be grim to reaper. 13 seconds. I bet everybody in here thought that game was over. No.
Got Patrick Mahomes.
Is that-
Patrick Mahomes, you have the greatest
Is that quote in your library now?
Probably. It's just. But I will say this. I went from the chop that the Chiefs do to an aw shucks moment real quick when